The first one is show your authentic self, and the second one is show commitment.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the best MBA podcast in the world, Get to Be School. This is your host, Drex. By the way, I've decided we're going to start saying that now. No one can discredit it. I think it's the best MBA podcast in the world. My mom thinks it's the best MBA podcast in the world. So this is the best MBA podcast in the world, and I'm grateful to you for listening to it. I hope you're having a fantastic Labor Day to those of you in the US. We were wondering if we should pump this out to Tuesday, but we're going to throw it on Monday and hope you enjoy it on the holiday. I know that a lot of you are cranking on those round one applications. Best of luck. I know the deadline's coming up for several different schools. Please let us know if we can help out in any way. I know it's stressful, so good luck. It'll pan out. After a couple of weeks of doing coaching interviews, we're going to go back and release an interview that we did with another student. Petar Nestorovic just graduated from Tuck. He's Magdala's counterpart, actually, if you remember her episode a few months ago. Just a super sweet couple. Really appreciate him coming on. A few things that I loved from his discussion. The big takeaway is be authentic and be committed. And I've just been thinking about that since editing and since interviewing. I just think that's a great way to live life. Also, usually at the end of the episode, I love to throw in a little gaff, but he just gave me too good of material at the end of the interview. So I threw that in instead. So hang on for the end. It's not a gap. It's not a throwaway. He actually gives some solid wisdom there at the end too. Besides that, please keep reaching out. We're going to keep switching between coaching interviews and student interviews. And if there are any other thoughts, let us know. Someone suggested this week that we start interviewing the best minds in business. And wouldn't that be a treat? So if anyone knows a best mind in business, I would be more than willing to chat with them. Would love to. So with that in mind, if you know anyone who should be on the show, or if you should be on the show, please reach out. Thank you for doing it already to those of you that have. Besides that, if you can please give the show a positive 5-star review, subscribe if you haven't already, just do all the digital media things. It just helps the show go to more people. So thank you for what you have done. Thank you for what you are doing. I hope you have a fantastic holiday to those in the US. Hope you have a fantastic week to everybody. And now let's get to the good part with Petar. Petar, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Really excited to be here.
I'm excited as well because you, the listeners will soon find out, are the lucky husband of Magdala, who was our guest a few episodes ago. The Tuck power couple.
Thank you.
You're both doing consulting now, is that correct?
That's right. In the same city, but in different firms.
And lucky for us, that city is Chicago. So I'm hoping that we get to do a dinner sometime or something.
Definitely.
If you don't mind, give a little bit of a background into who you are for the listeners.
Sure. I'm Petar Nestorovic. I'm from Peru. Prior to TAC, worked in sales. I worked around almost 9 years in 4 companies and different industries, from CPE to headhunting to a co-working type of space industry to finally an e-learning startup in a variety of roles. Actually, I was considering the fact of doing an MBA long ago, but life happened. There was a new opportunity in Peru that I decided to take, and with that, I prioritized this path. However, life is wise, and after certain consideration and prioritization of what to do next, I'm truly thankful to having decided to take this road because it has been one of the best experiences that I had in my life.
I am so excited to hear about it. That's tender that you say that. Talk to me then, if the MBA was kind of in your scope for a while, how did you decide to finally pull the trigger? How much of it was because of Magdala? What did it look like to finally go for it after so many years in the workforce?
So I think that basically when right after COVID happened, I think a lot of us had profound changes. A lot of things happened. And when such happened, I think there's a moment of change, a moment of clarity. In my case, specifically, it was back then when I started doing the meditation practice. And such practice comes with self-awareness. It's an ongoing practice. Difficult to reach to this state, but the sole fact of doing such allowed me to have a better sense of where was I, who was I, and who did I wanted to be. And one of those things was, okay, I want to contribute to a better impact, and a way to do so, I think, is to be better prepared with a more global perspective. And one of these roads was by releasing this idea that I had long ago that was doing the MBA. And it was funny because that was something that I had in my mind, but it was interesting because Magdala already already had an idea also of like what could I do next, and it was almost like, I don't know, synchronicity, but at the same time we had this as an idea, and we were like, sounds like a big dream, and let's go for it.
That's so cool. I can't even imagine how bonding or how he used the word synergy. And I think that's probably a great word for what you two must have felt going through that MBA application together.
It was, yeah, it was amazing to do it as partners.
So cool. How did you decide on Tuck? She said that she just fell in love with it after learning a little bit more. Did you want to go to Tuck the whole time, or did you take some persuading? What did it look like for you?
So it was one of the options that we had, among others. I didn't know so much about TAC back then, but there were some milestones that I think reinforced in us why TAC was the option for us. Because at the end, every MBA has its own uniqueness, its own culture. Specifically about TAC, for example, TAC is a close-knit community, meaning a smaller class in a smaller town that is not in a big city. However, such brings closeness. And we saw this firsthand. Back when we were applying, we contacted somebody that had graduated almost 20 years ago, a person who I didn't truly knew. I had a meeting with him long ago, and this person brought us to his home to tell us about the program, and he invested with us more than an hour explaining why that was not part of his identity, but he was really excited about it. But the sole fact that he decided to invest with strangers in his home about TAC was for me one great signal. And the second one was when both Magdala and I visited TAC in person while we were applying, and we had the experience that truly allowed us to understand why they say that the community at TAC is one of the best. First, we saw a friend of ours from Peru who cooked us arroz con pollo, that is a typical Peruvian dish. Yes. And later, we had a night with the Latino community and asado, which is basically a barbecue, with us. Like, not necessarily having to do that, but it was part of what we experienced beforehand, that what we could experience if we went to talk. Not only that, also we had face-to-face interaction with the staff. We even had the opportunity to have a one-on-one coffee with somebody from admissions. And it felt so warm that I think that was the point where we said, okay, this is the school for us.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go after all those experiences.
So in short, if you have the opportunity, you don't have to, but I would strongly encourage you to visit the school that you're applying to in person, because it truly allows you to, like, more than what you see in the portal, it truly allows you to assess whether it fits with yourself, because each of them is unique. If you want a big city, there are a lot of other options, great options. If you want something smaller, personal, and connected, that is a great option.
I think that's such a good point, because it's something that a lot of us try to avoid because it's expensive. And it's credible for you to say that. I'm assuming that you were in Peru at the time. So you came from Peru to Dartmouth to check it out, or were you already in the States living at the time?
We were.
Yeah. You sound like obviously it was well worth the investment.
It was. However, you don't have to, because at the end, if there are financial constraints, it's not a deal breaker. There are other ways to experience the community. For us in Peru, the way that we experienced the community was by contacting an alum, and we had a glance of what we were going to live. But this was going to the school, and having this experience was a reinforcement that for us, that was the choice.
I love that. It is hard enough to get admitted to a stellar program like Tuck by yourself. And I have heard that in some programs, having a partner apply with you is actually more helpful. And I have heard that in some programs, it doesn't matter. What do you feel helped you get admitted to Tuck?
Well, overall, I think that there are two things that allowed us to get admitted to Tuck. And I think those could be across any person who is applying. The first one is show your authentic self. And the second one is show commitment. Show your authentic self. It can show when you're doing essays, for example. In our case, that we hired an admissions consultant, something that I loved was that we had a document where we had a questionnaire that allowed us to understand who we were, what was our stories, why did we wanted to do an MBA, why now, what made us unique. The second thing is that when you build such a story, it allows you to truly evaluate whether you fit with the school that you're applying or not. And on the other way too, it makes the school has a better sense whether you, with your uniqueness and culture, fit the student body. So I think that's a first. Why? Because I think that at the end, it allows you to go to the right school. If you're not authentic enough and you try to play the game, there's always a risk of landing something where you truly don't feel you fit. So I think that's important, to be always authentic, regardless of the situation. And the second one is showing commitment. Showing commitment is, for example, focusing when trying to do your exams. That for me was kind of a tough part, trying to balance work with going back to school and studying for the tests, then I think it's important also to put your hours, do your reps, meaning like do several exercises per day in terms of GMAT, track your results, putting hours in understanding how your essay is building up, make sure you're saying the story in your tone. Also show commitment by contacting and talking with the student body and also alumni community, as they can give you also insights on what the school has that the portal doesn't show. For example, at TAC, there's something called Safe Rides. That Safe Rides is basically every night you can ask for a ride for free from anybody from the student body. Why? Because there are not enough Ubers. I think that there's only one. And that's part of what they say, like the TAC community is amazing. Okay, there are several things. One of them is Safe Rides.
That's so cool. I wish Chicago had that.
But it's part of the context because we don't have enough Ubers. There's this system of people who help other people. For me, that was great. And of course, if you have such insights, I think it also allows you to say, okay, I want to go to the school. And in your essay, you can explain why with some specific examples that you may have heard from people who actually lived experience.
Great. Be authentic and be committed. Love it. Whether you like it or not, you're done. You graduated and the 2 years are up. Talk to the listeners about some highs and lows of your time at Tuck.
Sure. So the first year was quite a bit overwhelming at first, as it was our first time living in a new continent, in a new language, with a new culture. You can be overwhelmed with a lot, and I think that's part of what I would encourage anybody who is about to start. Relax, chill out, enjoy the journey. It will be most probably the best 2 years of your life. That's the first. Highs, this is what I've been trying to, even now in this podcast with you, my first podcast in my life in a non-native language, is try to get yourself out of your comfort zone. For me, I did it, for example, with classes, and there's this class that for me is quite unique at TAC called Communicating with Presence. It is a course where you learn theater or actor method to incorporate in your presentations, not only in a formal setting, but everywhere, every time. And the thing is, like, show your authentic self always in order to truly engage with the audience. They, in the presentation, one of the sessions is like who you are and what are you most passionate about and why. These sort of things, of course, there are a lot of business related courses that are amazing, but those ones that for me was like getting out of my comfort zone, I think were the best. And also other highs were about like joining to leadership programs inside TAC. For example, and as you may have heard before, I love meditation and anything related to mental health. I joined with Magdala actually to a mental health wellness initiative as co-chairs, among other people. And among other clubs, take the chance to lead in programs. In my case, I joined also as a co-chair of what is called MBA Peru Conference. It's basically a conference that puts together the MBA Peru community with the top executives in Peru. And it was quite an amazing experience working with students from Peru who were studying abroad in the US and Europe, and having this chance to coordinate this event was kind of exciting. Another high point, sorry if I'm...
No, I love the highs.
Cool. There are two other points that for me were the highlights at top. The first one was the GIX. Oh, and just to let you know, these final three highlights allowed me to paradoxically get more connected to my country, to Peru. The first one was co-leading the conference, MBA Peru, that allowed me to better understand what were the problems or opportunities to help, regardless of where we were. That's the first. The second one was the Global Insight Expedition. TAC provides the opportunity to go abroad to other country for a project-based trip. In our case, we were to India, where we were divided in 3 different areas. Our project was basically, I was focused on financial services, and we were basically focused on seeing what were the main problems that could be addressed in this emerging market, and how could you adapt such problems to Peru. We had this trip with some top executives from a Peruvian conglomerate. So that was the second highlight that allowed me to be more connected with Peru. And the third one was the Tax Strategy Cup that was launched for the first time in Peru. I had the opportunity and privilege to be able to collaborate in the build-up of this case, be part of a mentors group and evaluators, and was basically helping out a Peruvian conglomerate that was trying to tackle and develop or continue to grow their business strategy on a social issue from different recommendations from the student body. So having the chance to know in person this these top executives who I have heard about online, knowing them as humans and knowing their commitment to help the country made me more connected to my country than I thought that I was going to be at abroad.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Man, those were such good highlights. Thank you for sharing those three. Let's pivot then and talk a little bit about your transition to consulting. You shared a rich background of work experience. What was the pivot like?
Amazing, amazing. I had the opportunity to apply to the pre-MBA program that was for center groups, one of them the Latino community. I applied to the McKinsey Inspire program. I fortunately got in. The summer internship was spectacular. I learned a lot. I had fun in the process and I met amazing people. Yeah, it was a great experience. For me, it's surreal. And I'm really grateful to be starting in a few weeks from now.
Awesome. That's great. And so you secured things with this McKinsey program before you even started your own MBA program.
Yes, basically.
Brilliant. That's great foresight.
What I would highly encourage everybody, if you have the chance to, if you want to go to consulting and you have the chance to apply, go for it. Take it seriously, like as seriously as doing the GMAT or any part of the application process. If you put the hours and you put your heart and brain, like your heart, yeah, you can make it. And yeah, you're done with the internship process.
What a relief and worth that work up front. Awesome. With the last few minutes that we have, share some advice. You've already shared some really great things. Be committed, be authentic. Do you have any other advice to leave with the listeners?
Sure. If you can meditate, it's only like you can take only 10 minutes per day. And this 1% of your day, or well, I don't know what's the percentage right now, impacts directly to the rest of your day. So highly encourage meditating. Also, for the application process, I would highly encourage you to also rely on systems. It helped me out. For example, for the GMAT, there was a portal that I used to be better prepared and see my numbers. But I also had a professor, same for the essay and same for the rest of the process. I think that reliability on a coach is also something important because it's a person that already is an expert on each part of the field. Yeah, I think that's key. And also one last thing is that I would also highly encourage throughout your MBA journey and even onwards, see who are the people who you also would like to learn more about, and you can like have meetings with them and they can share you amazing insights, and they not necessarily need to be part of alumni body of your school. We've had the privilege, for example, of having one-on-one conversation with professors outside of school after TAC, and there are contacts for life. So, and they give you life advice. So I would highly encourage you to rely on the network that you will have because it will last for life.
Wow. Love that. I love that. Petar, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your insights and your time. I hope that we run into you both in Chicago.
Definitely. Let me know when, and yeah, we're more than happy to do it. Similar to the Spider-Man quote that like with great power, you have great responsibility. We have the privilege to be here. We have the privilege to have an amazing MBA experience. Not everyone does. And not just because they didn't want to, but there are other reasons at the end. So I think that we have a responsibility to act upon that and see how can we contribute in life. I think that's something that we have been strongly considering also. And that could be either at our workplace or outside of it, but I think it's something important.